Good morning, software engineers. Welcome to the video. This is part two where we are gonna learn actually about Pymongo, MongoDB using Python. So this video is gonna be amazing, and the reason I'm saying that is because we are about to use object-oriented programming. We're gonna use design pattern, and we're gonna write amazing classes in Python. So it's gonna be a really fun tutorial. We'll be using some of the nice concepts of OOPS. It's gonna be fun, trust me. So let me just give you a glimpse of it. I have all of these helper code. I'm going to code from scratch. Should be very much amazing. So for MongoDB, we have already a library called Pymongo. So we'll create our own library on the top of Pymongo helper module, I would say. So without wasting much of time, let's get started with this video. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a little long, but stay tuned. I have my MongoDB running through a Docker container. In my part one, I did that. I would leave the links in the description. So let's get started with the programming, man. I'm ready to roll. All right. So first of all, as usual, I usually like to do try catch exceptions. So I'm gonna say, if there's an exception, print error. Wanna say, hey, okay, string formatting A. Okay, so that's pretty much it, right? Now, of course, you gotta install modules and libraries. So I'm gonna import following modules right here. Okay, so these are the modules I'm going to import: pandas, sys, io, json, pymongo, and bson. So these are the modules that I'm going to import, and we usually want to always, when you're writing a code, we want to make sure that these libraries are all there. So I'm going to make sure I follow the best practices. On the top, I can usually it's a good idea to say the author name. So I'm going to say the author name as Somil Nitin. I usually do that. So so I'm gonna do that, and usually what I do is whenever I change my code, I usually update the version on the top. That way I know what I'm working on. 0.0.0.0.1. There's a typo. Let's fix that one. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so that's the first part. Okay, good. Now, what I'm gonna do is I am thinking of some of the nice design patterns here that I can use. So I would like to use something called a singleton design pattern, because when I create instance of a Mongo client, I don't want to create multiple instance. Makes no sense. So I'm gonna use meta class, meta programming to do that. So let's do it, babe. So for that, I'm gonna define a class called a singleton, and this has to inherit from type, okay, because you are doing meta programming, right? I guess I have a spelling mistake, maybe. All right, that's fine. So we do that, and here I'm gonna write some comments. This would be a control V design pattern. This should allow to create only one instance when we are inheriting from this. So on the top, I'm going to define a variable, which is a class variable in Python. Whenever you define on the top, call as instance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call dunder call. Okay, dunder call, instead of self, I'm going to use the keyword class, because I'm using a class variable there. And after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check, hey, if class, okay, not in class, oopsie, spelling mistake, if class, so I'm going to say if class not in, I'm going to say class dot, I'm going to access the variable instance. If it is not there, hey, then create an instance of a class. So, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to call the super method built in. Okay, of course, gotta be class, and oops, sorry for that. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say args and star k args. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's done. And at the end, we need to return. I'm gonna say class dot underscore instance, and I'm gonna say class. So that's my singleton design pattern class. Basically, I'm just gonna inherit, and this should make only single instance of a class. Pretty good. So far so good. We are trying to make sure we follow pepate spacing, one space after that, so proper spacing. Usually comments creates only one instance of the class. I want to make sure I do like proper stuff. Okay, so that's done. Let's actually quickly I know it's gonna work, but so if underscore name dunder is equal to main, um, I'm gonna call the function oopsie main there. Okay, I think it's gonna work. I'm not gonna test it out. So now what I'm gonna do is I have a singleton design pattern there. So I'm gonna create a MongoDB client, right? So first of all, what I'm gonna do, so I have to import it up. So let's define a class called as Mongo client. or M client, or I'm thinking of a good convention, there. So Pymongo, right? So I'm gonna say Python Mongo, right? So let me use Mongo. I'm gonna use a Mongo client class because, and this of course has to inherit from the singleton design pattern because we only want to create one instance of this class. Okay, I'm gonna create a constructor. Okay, so that's there. I don't know why is it giving me. Oh, I know, because Mongo client is already an object in that library. So let's use Pymongo client. That should not be there. So okay, so I created a class called as Pymongo client, inherits from singleton. Where so that will assure that it's only single instance of a class is created. By default, I would usually again, as I said, I mean it's a good practice, but I would say local host are usually local. You know what? Otherwise, let me say set it to none right now. So I'm gonna take a host, a max pool size, set that to about 50, and after that I'm gonna set a port. Default port for Mongo is 27010. Pretty easy. Start defining these variables here. Self.host is equal to host. Self. I'm gonna say max pool size. And see how I'm gonna keep all of these as public because for some reason self.port is equal to port. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm thinking something. So I don't want to call this. I'm gonna call this settings. There's a reason behind this because I'm gonna inject this class in a client object. I'm thinking of some nice design practice I can use. I'm actually breaking them into multiple subcomponents. So that's one class called as settings. Let's define one more class called as client object. So the client object will, get all the attributes. I'm gonna say what I'm. So what I'm saying, what I'm thinking here is basically I'm gonna insert the instance of a settings class here. So again init, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna define a dunder settings here. Set it to none. Self dot. Do I need to do it public or private? I'm thinking again. I'm thinking. Okay, so I need to do. Am I gonna access? Yeah, I might have to access it. So I'm not gonna make it private. I'm gonna make that a public variable. Okay, so that's pretty much it, right? We have the instance on the client object. Once you have that, what we want to do, we want to create a client object, a Mongo client. Self. I want to say M client. That's sense of Mongo client. Again, it has to be public. We're gonna say Mongo client, and here I'm gonna use the settings dot, and I'm gonna say host. Okay, we gotta use the host. Actually, you know what? I should have done like I'm gonna use an args here, not the no. I mean, this is a arg. Oh, that's a k args. Yeah. When you say like some variable and you say you give the value, it's a k args. So it's a k arg. What I'm doing. So now I'm gonna define a port. I'm gonna say let's see self dot settings dot ports. And of course, one last thing that I got to do is max pool size. Max pool size self dot settings dot max pool size. Lovely. Look at this. It's coming out pretty well. So far, so good. Usually, it's a good practice if your code is too big on one line, you always want to split it on multiple lines. It's just for readable. It's a better reading purposes. Follow pep8. One space there, two space after the classes. Looks good. So that's there. Oops, what the hell did I do? Okay, so that's there. Okay, what you want to do now? You have this instance settings class here. You will only define it once. I don't think for any reason that this class there should be multiple instance for this class. I mean, I don't want people to create multiple instance of my class. So I'm gonna inherit from singleton. That means this is also gonna be a single design pattern. You cannot create multiple instances of your Mongo client, which makes sense. I don't want to do that, right? Now, I want to do is basically, I would basically I'm gonna use something. So what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking to break this into like several classes. So I'm thinking like an insert class, which will have different methods for insert, like insert one, insert many, insert pandas. I'm gonna define all of that, and kind of like an operation class will perform like an operation, like basic operations, and maybe what was that search class? So okay, so we have three classes. It's gonna be fun, trust me. So, all right. So let me do one more thing since I'm defining. Also, I'm gonna start writing my stubbed version of my code here. So if you see here in the main, that's the URL. I'm gonna say that's my Mongo URL, right? That I'm gonna pass. What do you want to do? I'm gonna create a settings instance. I'm gonna say settings. Oops, not singleton Sawmill. What are you doing, Sawmill? So I'm just gonna say, hey, host is what the host is equal to I wanna say URL. So that's the setting class that I gave. Now, guys, what I want to do, once you create the instance of this class, what you want to do, I want to comment out because I don't want to run it right now. Once you pass the URL, rest all should be good. Now, what you want to do is you want to create a client object. So again, client, okay. Now, remember, this takes a instance of a class settings. So, what the? So I did pass that, and you cannot create multiple instance of any of these classes. So creates a instance of settings class. Okay, so I'm thinking like, okay, so creates CREA creates a single instance of a client object. So I'm actually, what I'm doing is I'm breaking it into several micro components, essentially. Now let me define a class that's called like operation. The job of this is basically to do operations, as I said, like basic operation, get the schemas, and so I would not name it operations. I would just say I'm thinking. Hold on, man. Let me think something. So if I do it that way, I'm gonna inject the client object everywhere. So that way I can access. But in the client object, I have access to settings. That means I have access to all the host, port, and max pool. That makes sense. So what I'm thinking now, let's define a what do you call that? So it's gonna be like a very let's define, or you know what? Let me define a insert statement. So class Mongo. Okay, so I'm defining a Mongo insert class, again inherit from object. Now, so let's define again a constructor. For now, leave it to pass. Now, Mongo has stuff like, first of all, you need to create like an instance of, so basically you need the client object, right? So I'm assuming that I'm gonna pass the client object into that class. So technically, I'm saying, if I'm thinking correctly, let's say none self dot so if it's gonna be an instance of a client, so I can pretty much say client. Okay, so I would have the instance of this. So I would actually pass here like if I want to insert something on a database, but before that, okay, let's see. So I'm thinking. Okay, so what I can do, let's call a helper class Mongo client insert. So I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna pass a client instance. So I'm gonna say client. So I'm passing this instance client. That means if I pass this, I automatically have access to M client and settings class. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I have access to both of them. Now I can start writing my stubbed version. So I can say, so spacing, define, insert yeah, insert one, yeah, let me see. So I'm gonna, yeah, let's do insert one first, and we keep writing the stubs. So usually, you know what, I usually I have an habit of always putting a try catch block because things normally breaks pretty often, so you want to catch the exception. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna say self dot and remember, when you want to insert, you need the DB name and the collection name. So technically, this class should also take that. So DB name none, and DB name, of course. And then we also want to pass a collection name. Let's give it to none. So now let's do self dot d. Come on, what the hell? Let me copy that. Okay, so self dot that one, collection name, self dot collection name. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, now if I'm thinking correctly what I'm doing, so I have a client object which is basically this one, and in that I want to access the M client object, which is a Mongo client. Okay, so once you have access to the Mongo client, you want to create a database, I mean the name of the database. So I'm gonna say self dot db name. you want to provide a collection name. Okay, so now I can pretty much say insert one, and this should take a JSON record because we want to insert something. So pretty much I want to say record, pretty much good. Whew, all right, that's great. And if we work correctly, we return a boolean. Else, if there was an exception, we know it's gonna just say false. What I can say here, so I'm writing all the documentation, whatever, bool inserts record in MongoDB. So my stub version is ready. So that's the first thing, insert one. Now we also want to create something unique. If you have a pandas data frame, so we want to say insert pandas data frame. So if you pass pandas data frame, what do you want to do when you have a pandas? What do you want to say? Again, the same thing, but okay, let me do it. Try pass. I'm not sure if you guys would be following with me, because if you know a little bit of Mongo, understanding this code would be easy. Otherwise, you would have a hard time. You would just say, "What the hell is this guy doing?" And for people who did understand, I mean, you know what I'm doing, right? So what I'm supposed to do here is, again, I'm going to say self.client, which is an instance. I'm going to access the M client from that because I have access to all of that. So self dot, I'm going to say DB name here, and I'm going to say self dot collection name. And again, now, and here I'm going to use insert many, but see how am I doing it, because it's a pandas. So I'm going to say df dot to underscore dict. I'm gonna convert into a dict, and I want to say order. Actually ordered. Yes, that's right. And the order doesn't matter, so it's gonna be false. Um, return true if something went wrong. Return false. So pretty much it. As I said, um, pandas. I'm actually creating an helper library. If you see, I'm adding more functionality. Okay, so that looks good. Good. Um, excuse me. Sorry. So we have insert one, insert many. Let's create few more. I mean, you got the idea, right? So you can have insert many class and so on. You can develop this library, keep doing it. Let me develop few more, what do you call that, functions here. For example, let's call a operations class. It's gonna be like let's say information class, because it's gonna let's call Mongo information. So I'm gonna use a Mongo information inherit from object. Essentially, this class, the job of this class is basically providing a basic information of all, like, what do you call that? The list of the databases name and stuff like that. So I have the stubbed ready. So now what I'm gonna do is I need the instance of a client object here as well. So everywhere whenever you use it, whenever you want to use it, you always would pass a client object. I know what I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. Okay, so let me complete it. Okay, first. So let's say client. I'm gonna pass a client object here. Pretty good. Now I'm gonna say self dot client is equal to client. And remember, if you are following with me right now, let me stub out, collapse that so I can show you. Remember, client has an M client object, okay? So you can access there from there, and you know what I mean. So I have a client object here. I would have an instance here. Actually, I should give it a default, set it to none. Okay, so now I want to do is basically I want to get a basic information. So of course, two space after a class, so it looks a little neat. So I want to define a class called get all database. I think I should use camel case or Pascal case, whatever. Get all database, whatever. Yeah, it's fine. You got an idea. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say return self dot. Remember, I gotta use client. I'm gonna use M client. Okay, so I'm gonna use client. I'm gonna use M client from that. That means he's gonna access the Mongo client object, and after that, I'm gonna say list object, list database name. So I think that should be fine. MongoDB. Okay. What is this? A list attribute? I forgot. Yeah, it's a list. So that's there. Now we also want to do something for collections. So get all collection. See how I'm stubbing out, how I'm breaking it into several components, right? That's what you want to do when you're making classes. So I'm going to say get. Uh, yeah, in this you want to need a DB name because you want to get collections for that particular database. You know what? If you don't pass that, I want to make sure I do check. So if DB, come on, Somil, what's going on? Alrighty, is none, return false, else. Okay, that makes sense. If DB name is false, else is, it grabs all the, again, it's gonna give a list. I should return an empty list here. And what I should do, self, again, I have an instance of a class. So self.client.mClient. I have an access to mClient, and then I gotta access that particular database. What was that? DB name? Oh, not self. DB. Oops. DB. Samil. DB name. Perfect. And again, list collection names. Simple, easy. That's pretty much it. So my stub is coming out pretty good, I think. Okay, so param db, it's a string, returns a list. You want to give a nice documentation when you're writing stuff like that, because if people read your code, it should be like, wow, that guy, beautiful code, like wonderful written code. I think that's pretty much it, right? Like I have an entire stubbed version of all of these classes and fancy things. Of course, I can keep making it if I want to get really crazy. Now what I can do is I can make a facade design pattern. You know what? Let's do it, man. I want to make crazy. I mean, what I can do is I can make a facade pattern here, and I can call all of these classes inside that classes, and that way I can just call these methods. Shall I do that? Let me think. I have a setting class, so what I can do is I can pass everything to the facade class. The facade class will initiate all of these fancy things, whatever. And I mean, yeah, I mean. I think maybe not. Maybe. I'm thinking actually, should I make a facade class, a main class which calls all of these classes? That would, yeah. I mean, I think I should do that. Let me think. Let me first test this functionality because it should work. Hopefully, uh, yeah, it should work. I'm pretty confident about my code, right? So. Let's do first one thing. We create an instance of class. We create a client object. Let's insert some data. So let's say whatever record is equal to. I'm gonna create a simple record name. I am confident about this. It has to work, man. If not, it's fine. I'll fix it. It's not a problem. It's fine. DB name. Let's call this is a person. Oh, damn it. Collection name. Whatever. Names? Yeah, whatever. Names. Yeah, it's fine. All right, so I want to insert this. I'm just going to check it out if it's going to work. I'm going to call helper class, and then I can go again with facade and all of that fancy thing. Alrighty, insert one. I guess I have to give it a DV name. Did I? Let me see. So Mongo insert takes, of course, I told you, has to give a DB name and a collection name and a client object instance. It's fine. So now I think I got to define all of this above that. That's perfect. Now I can pretty much say why the IntelliSense is not working. It should tell me like what parameters this takes. I mean the IntelliSense has to. Oh yeah, now it works. So it takes a client. You see how they're giving you a documentation. That's why I'm like, guys, wanna make sure you write documentations. Okay, DB name. DB name. What was the other thing? Collection. Come on, IntelliSense. Do I have to hover over this or what? Yeah, whatever. I'll just scroll up and see what's. Yeah, collection name. That's fine. Collection name. Collection name. So that's my stubbed version of a helper class, and I think insert one takes a record. I'm gonna give a record. Let's try it out, guys. Hopefully it should work. No more errors. So far so good. Oops. Wait. What? Oh, okay, it's good. So I think I defined the URL. I'm just I'm walking through that. So I created an instance of a settings class, which is a singleton design pattern. So you cannot create multiple instances of settings. I created a client object, which is again a singleton. You can't create multiple instance. I'm passing instance of setting into the client object and then passing client instance everywhere else because I would have that way access to all of these attributes because all of those are public. Let's see if it works. Hopefully. I'm gonna run master. Let's see. Oh, I should print that. It's taking a while, I guess. I mean, let me see if my okay, all modules loaded. Oops. I want to switch to my Mongo if it work. Okay, Mongo is working. Run. Okay, so the process was finished. Let's get crazy and see if it works. Oh boy. Ooh, come on. It did not. Maybe. It's fine. Now what happened incorrectly? Like, where did I miss something? Or maybe it's just taking a while, maybe. I'm not sure. Want to make sure, yeah, I mean, he did not throw any errors as such. So let's see. Res is equal to this. Mm, res. Okay, so I'm just actually printing the response here. Uh, M client, some client, M client, DB name, collection name, insert one. Let me print something here. So should create it. That's weird. Let's see. Okay, so it returns false. I see. So this guy is throwing an exception here. Now, the reason I want to see what exceptions it's actually throwing. So I can actually print the exception here. Let's see. I mean, it's going to tell you collection object is not callable. If you want to call the insert one method on a collection object, it is a failing because of no such method exists. Ah, I see. Okay, hold on. I think. Oh damn! I forgot the T insert. Oh damn! Crazy. That should fix my error. Hopefully, let's try. Oops. And I'm positive. Yep, it should work now. I'm gonna refresh my database. And there you go. You have a person class. We went so crazy. We we developed all of these classes, fancy things. Let's go one step little crazy more. I know this is, I mean, I'm not sure if everyone is going to follow with me till the end, but let's go super crazy. So let's develop a facade design pattern, guys. Alrighty. So, which will, of course, take care of all of these class. I want to clean up this. So, all right. So, I'm going to say mongoose, which is a facade pattern, guys. Okay. Crazy. I'm just going crazy with classes. I love to play with classes. So now you gotta do several things here. You gotta pass the host. You gotta say none. See how I'm stubbing out now. So it's gonna take a host. If you want to change the port, you can pass port. Max pool size is 50. It's fine. I don't want to have. I mean, maybe. I mean, do I want to change that? Maybe. Let's see. Okay. Let's give the user the rights to do that. I mean, I would give him the facility to change max pool size 50. Now look how am I coding. So what I'm gonna do, I'm using facade design pattern here. So my idea here is instead of creating this instance, I don't want the user to see all of that. So I'm gonna do. It's gonna get crazier, man. Trust me. Instead of even doing that, I'm thinking something even more crazy. I'm thinking I can create a hash table or hash map. Nah, let's not do that crazy. Let's not get that crazy, guys. so, uh, so that's gonna be host. I don't know if people will follow what I did actually, but let's see. Max pool size. That's basically a library. It's my own personal helper library. So, I'm gonna create an instance settings class, which is inside this class, facade class. Crazy. All right. Okay, let me actually add some comments. Okay, so that's the facade class. I'm gonna create one more. I'm using underscore because I don't want people to have access to these methods. I mean, yeah, whatever. Uh, Client. So client, and this would take. It's gonna get crazier, man. Trust me. So it's gonna take the settings class. Oh boy. Okay, so that's gonna take that class, and that class is gonna be taking. So basically, the setting. So when I say settings, you're passing settings. Settings, yeah. Let me complete it. Otherwise, if I lose my focus, I'll do something crazy. So that's gonna be that one. Okay. So okay. So I'm using settings. I'm using client object now. What I want to do, Sawmill, is I want to actually create these stubs methods out there. So I just want to say, okay, so I'm going to use dummy methods here. So when I say insert one, right? So for example, let me see, Mongo. So that means when I want to create so I want to create instance of a insert class also then inside this. So self dot. Hold on, guys. I also want to make sure I see what I'm doing now. Okay. I want to pass a DB name also then because it's gonna is this is a master class, right? Okay, so that's gonna be that one. Okay, so self dot. It's a crazy video I've created on my YouTube. People are gonna hate me for this, I'm pretty sure. Oh boy. Okay, so that's gonna be that one. Uh, what I wanna do? Fuck. I think name. If I make one mistake and I'm screwed up, self dot insert, and I'm gonna create an instance of an insert Mongo insert class inside this class, which takes several attributes. Oh, no. Okay, so that way if I want to use, so client is gonna be self dot underscore. Damn it. So why did I leave the client as public? I could have made it as a private variable. Whatever, fine. Self dot db name. Collection name can also be from the instance out there like that. Let's call a method insert. No, but insert one is already a method inside that. Insert one. So you got an idea, right? What I'm trying to do here. Hopefully. So now instead of this all this crappy shit, I'm basically okay. So helper. So it's not gonna be helper. It's gonna be insert now, and just not insert because it's an instance. I have to use self dot insert. Self dot insert. Okay, that's an. Damn. Self.insert, insert one, that's a method that's gonna be in that class in the Mongo insert. We gotta pass a record. That record will be passed here. Okay, what the hell did I do? Yeah, yeah, I know what I did. So hopefully that makes sense, right? I mean, I created a master class, a facade class, which has settings, client, DB name. It takes all of things, and all the instances of this class I'm creating in this facade class. Instead of doing this crap, I'm just making things easy for the client. So that's gonna be that. And what you want to do? This also takes care of the exception handling. So I can just say return that. Pretty much it. Perfect. I think I'm gonna stop here, not get too crazy. I'm gonna leave all the code here in the description section so you can kindly play with the object-oriented approach. You see how powerful things you can create with just like oops and stuff like that. Let me actually try out and hopefully that works. So that all crap would be taken out, and the new thing that is gonna be main. Okay, so now we're gonna inherit from mongoose. You gotta pass everything, the host. Yeah, I mean, if you have doubt, guys, yeah, reach out to me, man. I've been helping so many people, for free. I don't charge any money. If I'm free, I'll help you, man. Um, okay. Actually, I don't need to passport because that's set to a default 2710. Did I do that? No, you did not. 27010. So I don't have to pass the port also. Just in case if I want to change that, I'll pass it. So that's that. Okay, so it's gonna take care of all of that fancy thing. Oh, I gotta pass a few more thing. DB name. What was that person? Yeah, and the collection name. Collection. What was the collection name? I forgot. Names, whatever. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So I did this one, and now it's just I gotta do. The client has to just say helper dot insert one record. See how easy I'm making things for people, like, you want to make things very easy, for using. So I just created a master class, a facade class. I'm gonna type my father's name now. I think that takes a record and record. A main one. All right, ready to test and go. Let's see. I should have printed it. It's fine. All modules loaded. It's fine. Let's check the Mongo. There you go, guys. Everything in one go. All right, we have design pattern, meta classes, a facade, best of best code, hopefully, and that makes sense. Yeah, feel free to modify, feel free to add more things if you want. I just made a stub version, so of course you can take it to next level, do a lot of stuff and make it, it supports pandas and, all of that. So you can take it to even next level, like PySpark and all of that. You can support like multiple things in library. So yeah, I love to like create like this helper class for the community. Hopefully you really enjoyed this tutorial, and if so, do give a like. Thank you for love, thank you for support, and hopefully that was a nice concept of object-oriented. Oops, I haven't used everything. I wanted to use property decorators and function chaining and stuff like that, but maybe something in the next video. Once again, thank you for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep smiling, keep working hard, and see you guys next time.